our technician in the house who's going to help me with this.
Doing things.
And it's just uploading. It's this red line. It's very cool. It's like the curtain is going up. All right, so we are. We are live.
Woo.
And it's just uploading.
There you go.
Okay.
Woo.
Welcome to everybody to our reading of Macbeth and our reading series. We are Soul and Bliss, and we work out of the Pasadena Shakespeare Club, but nowadays we work online. So tonight's reading of Macbeth is a really special one for us, and we're very excited that we have so many students watching. And it's a student matinee of sorts, kind of thing. I personally want to thank Megan, our resident teacher, that's working with a lot of the students that are here with us tonight, and we'll be watching it, I'm sure, once it goes online. And I wanted to thank you, Megan, for being so open to let us perform this for the kids tonight, and to share our passion and our love of this extraordinary play. And I also want to thank Kristian, who was he's playing Macbeth tonight. He's just so incredibly passionate about recognizing the importance of the education part of the work that we do as Shakespeare actors. And so thank you very much to both of you. After the reading, which is just about an hour, we'll take questions from our Zoom audience. So please stick around, and we'll take a deep dive into the world of this wonderful play. And if you have any questions or anything, we'd love to hear from you then. Before we start, just a couple of things. I wanted to especially thank some of our audience members tonight that were with us last week when we did a reading of King Lear, and we were able to raise over about $1,000 Canadian. So we're really, really excited about that. And as promised, I said that I would do a solo reading of the entire Henry V folio script, and I will do that by myself next Thursday. So please drop in and keep me company as I read that play.
We expect different voices and accents, Richard.
I will do my very best. There's a Welsh character, so I can do some Welsh. You know. There you go. I can do
it's
that.
in French. I think you've got to know your French.
And I'll be rehearsing all weekend. So,
Great.
Yeah. But again, I just wanted to thank everybody for their generosity, wherever you are in North America, for helping us with a fundraiser for the Shakespeare Company, which Luanne and I started 25 years ago in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So we want to see it continue, and we're really excited about that. Also, you can reach us on social media on www.soulinbliss.com or on IG at Soul in Bliss for the latest little IG posters and more information about our reads that we do every week. And in 2 weeks' time, we start a 3-part series of Hamlet, and we will have 3 separate Hamlets playing each week, doing 1-hour version of the whole play. So the whole play in 3 parts in 3 hours over 3 weeks. So we're really excited about that as well. And we'll have more info to come. And our Hamlets are reading with us tonight, and I'm excited for that. There's Joe, there's Megan, and Alana, and those are our 3 Hamlets. So we're super stoked about that. Anyway, before we get to cast introductions, a little synopsis about this play. A brave Scottish general named Macbeth receives a prophecy from a trio of witches. One day he will become king of Scotland. He's consumed by the ambition and spurred to action by his wife. Macbeth murders King Duncan and takes the Scottish throne for himself. And that's when the trouble begins. And I won't say any more because there's this, there's some of you may not have seen the whole play or read the play, and there's a big spoiler at the end. So please stick with us for that. In our Zoom room, I guess you can see that each one of the actors has their name and their parts that they're playing, but I'll let them introduce themselves tonight. We'll start with Kristian, and we'll work from Lady Macbeth, and we'll work through our witches, and then everybody just kind of jump in and share who you are and who you're playing tonight.
All right. Hi there. My name is Kristian Bruun, and I am playing Macbeth.
Hi, my name is Luanne Morrow, and I'm playing Lady Macbeth and the Third Witch.
Hi, my name is Megan St. Thomas, and I am playing the first witch, first apparition, first murderer. If it's the first, it's me.
I am Maddie Lewis, and I am playing a second witch, second murder, apparition 2, Fleance and Ross.
I'm Alana Urick. I'm playing Banquo Lennox and a gentlewoman.
I'm Burke, and I'm playing Seaton and Mentius.
I'm Megan McGeehan, Miss McGeehan to the students. And I am playing Angus, King Duncan, and his son Malcolm.
Hi, I'm Paul Gore. I'm playing Donalbain and the Doctor.
I'm Joe Denicol, and I'm playing Macduff.
Hi, I'm Sonia Egan, and I'll be playing the third murderer and Lords.
Excellent. And I'm Richard Kenyon, and I'm playing the Porter, and I will be your narrator for this evening. So without well, further ado, let's get this party started, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Thunder and lightning. The front curtains open, and the three witches meeting.
When shall we for the three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or rain?
When the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won.
That will be ere the set of sun.
Where the place?
Upon the heath.
There to meet with Macbeth.
Come, gray Malcolm.
Haddock calls.
Anon.
Fair is foul, and foul is fair.
Hover through the fog and filthy air.
Where hast thou been, sister?
Killing swine.
Sister, where thou?
A sailor's wife had chestnuts in her lap, and munched and munched and munched. Give me, quoth I. Aright thee, witch, the rump-fed Runyon cries. Her husband to Aleppo's gone, master o'er the Tiger. But in a sieve I'll thither sail, and like a rat without a tail, I'll do.
Show me, show me.
Here, the pilot's thumb. Wrecked as homeward he did come.
A drum within.
A drum! A drum! Macbeth doth come.
The weird sisters hand in hand.
Posters of the sea and land.
Thus dost do go about.
Thrice to thine and thrice to mine.
And thrice again to make up 9.
Peace! The charm's wound up.
They move down to left for stage. Enter Macbeth and Banquo center.
So foul and fair a day I have not seen.
How far is it called to Forres? What are these, so withered and so wild in their attire, that look not like inhabitants of the earth, and yet are on it? Live you? Are you aught that man may question? You seem to understand me. By each at once, her choppy finger laying upon her lips. You should be women, and yet your beards forbid me to interpret that you are so.
Speak, if you can. What are you?
All hail Macbeth, hail thee, Thane of Glums.
All hail, Macbeth. Hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor.
All hail, Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter.
Good sir, why do you start and seem to fear things that do sound so fair? To me you speak not. If you can look into the seeds of time and say which grain will grow and which will not, speak then to me, who neither beg nor fear your favors or your hate.
Hail!
Hail.
Hail!
Lesser than Macbeth, and greater.
Not so happy, yet much happier.
Thou shalt get kings, though thou be none. So all hail Macbeth and Banquo.
Banquo and Macbeth, all hail.
No, stay, you imperfect speakers, tell me more. By Sinel's death, I know I am Thane of Glamis, but how of Cawdor? The Thane of Cawdor lives, and to be king stands not within the prospect of belief no more than to be Cawdor. Speak, I charge you.
Witches vanish.
The earth hath bubbles as the water has, and these are of them. Whither are they vanished?
Into the air. And what seemed corporal melted as breath into the wind. Would they had stayed.
Were such things here as we do speak about?
Your children shall be kings.
You shall be king.
And Thane of Cawdor too, went it not so?
To the self-same tune and words. Who's there?
Enter Ross and Angus.
The king hath happily received, Macbeth, the news of thy success.
We are sent to give thee from our royal master thanks.
And for an earnest of a great honor, he bade me from him call thee Thane of Cawdor, in which addition hail most worthy Thane, for it is thine.
What? Can the devil speak true?
The Thane of Cawdor lives. Why do you dress me in borrowed robes?
Ah, who was the Thane lives yet, but under heavy judgment there's that life which he deserves to lose. For treason's capital, confessed and proved, have overthrown him.
Sighed.
Glamis and Thane of Cawdor. The greatest is behind.
To Ross and Angus.
Thanks for your pains.
Banquo.
Do you not hope your children shall be kings, when those that gave the Thane of Cawdor to me promised no less to them?
That trusted home might yet enkindle you unto the crown, besides the Thane of Cawdor. Cousins, a word, I pray you.
Aside.
Two truths are told as happy prologues to the swelling act of the imperial theme. This supernatural soliciting cannot be ill, or cannot be good. If ill, why hath it given me earnest of success commencing in a truth? If good, why do I yield to that suggestion, whose horrid image doth unfix my hair and make my seated heart knock at my ribs against the use of nature?
Look how our partner's wrapped.
Aside.
If chance will have me king, why, chance may crown me without my stir.
New honors come upon him, like our strange garments, cleave not to their mold, but with the aid of use.
Aside.
Come what come may, time and the hour runs through the roughest day.
Worthy Macbeth, we stay upon your leisure.
Very good. The upper curtains open. Enter Lady Macbeth on the balcony, reading a letter.
They met me in the day of success, and they have more in them than mortal knowledge. When I burned in desire to question them further, they made themselves air, into which they vanished. Whilst I stood wrapped in the wonder of it, came missives from the king, who all hailed me Thane of Cawdor, by which title before these weird sisters saluted me and referred me to the coming on of time with Hail King that shalt be. This have I thought good to deliver thee, my dearest partner of greatness, that thou mightst not lose the dues of rejoicing by being ignorant of what greatness is promised thee. Lay it to thy heart and farewell. Glamis thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet I do fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Hie thee hither, that I may pour my spirits in thine ear, and chastise with the valor of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round, which fate and metaphysical aid doth seem to have thee crowned withal.
Enter Seaton.
What
The
is your
king-
tidings?
The king comes here tonight.
Thou art mad to say it. Is
So-
not thy master with him?
So please you, it is true. Our Thane is coming. One of my fellows had the speed of him, who, almost dead for breath, had scarcely more than would make up this message.
Give him tending. He brings good news.
Exit Seaton.
The raven himself is hoarse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the access and passage to remorse, that no compunctious visitings of nature shake my fell purpose.
Enter Macbeth.
Great Glamis, worthy Cawdor, greater than both by the all hail hereafter. Thy letters have transported me beyond this ignorant present, and I feel now the future in the instant.
My dearest love, Duncan comes here tonight.
And when goes hence?
Tomorrow, as he purposes.
Oh, never shall sun that Morrow see. Your face, my Thane, is as a book where men may read strange matters. Bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. He that's coming must be provided for.
We will speak further.
Only look up clear. To alter favor ever is to fear. Leave all the rest to me.
They exit. Front curtains close. Nightlight. Trumpets and torches. Enter right on the forestage Duncan, Malcolm, Donalbain, Banquo, Lennox, Macduff, Ross, Angus, and attendants.
This castle hath a pleasant seat. The air nimbly and sweetly recommends itself unto our gentle senses.
This guest of summer, the temple-haunting martlet, does approve by his loved mansionry that the heaven's breath smells wooingly here. No jutty, frieze, buttress, nor coign of vantage, but this bird hath made his pendant bed and procreant cradle. Where they most breed and haunt, I have observed the air is delicate.
Enter Lady Macbeth.
See our honored hostess. The love that follows us sometime is our trouble, which still we thank is love.
All our service in every point twice done and then done double were poor and single business to contend against those honors deep and broad wherewith your majesty loads our house.
Where's the Thane of Cawdor? We coursed him at the heels and had a purpose to be his purveyor, but he rides well. Fair and noble hostess, we are your guest tonight.
Your servants ever.
Give me your hand. Conduct me to mine host. We love him highly, and shall continue our graces toward him. By your leave, hostess.
Exit left. The front curtains open. Nightlight. A stairway now leads up to the balcony. Enter Macbeth.
If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly, that but this blow might be the be-all and the end-all here. But here, upon this bank and shoal of time, we'd jump the life to come. But in these cases, we still have judgment here that we but teach bloody instructions, which, being taught, return to plague the inventor. This even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our poisoned chalice to our own lips. He's here in double trust. First, as I am his kinsman and his subject, strong both against the deed. Then, as his host, who should against his murderer shut the door, not bear the knife myself. Besides, this Duncan hath borne his faculties so meek, hath been so clear in his great office, that his virtues will plead like angels, trumpet-tongued against the deep damnation of his taking off.
Enter Lady Macbeth.
How now? What news?
He has almost supped. Why have you left the chamber?
Hath he asked for me?
Know you not he has.
We will proceed no further in this business. He hath honored me of late, and I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which would now be worn in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon.
Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Art thou afeard to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire? Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would, like the poor cat in the adage?
Prithee, peace. I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none.
What beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man.
If we should fail.
We fail. But screw your courage to the sticking place and we'll not fail. When Duncan is asleep, his two chamberlains will I with wine and wassail so convince that memory, the warder of the brain, shall be a fume. When in swinish sleep their drenched natures lie as in a death, what cannot you and I perform upon the unguarded Duncan?
Bring forth men children only, for thy undaunted metal should compose nothing but males. Will it not be received when we have marked with blood those sleepy two of his own chamber, and used their very daggers that they have done?
Who dares receive it other, as we shall make our griefs and clamor roar upon his death?
I am settled, and bend up each corporal agent to this terrible feat. Away, and mock the time with fairest show. False face must hide what the false heart doth know.
They exit. Enter on the lower stage Banquo and Fleance bearing a torch before him.
How goes the night, boy?
The moon is down. I've not heard the clock.
And she goes down at 12.
I take 'tis later, sir.
Hold, take my sword. There's husbandry in heaven. Their candles are all out. Take thee that too. Heavy summons lies like lead upon me, and yet I would not sleep.
Enter Macbeth, Center, and Seaton.
Give me my sword. Who's there?
A friend.
Oh, what, sir, not yet at rest. Oh, the king's abed. This diamond he greets your wife withal by the name of most kind hostess, and shut up in measureless content. All's well. Oh, I dreamt last night of the three weird sisters. Oh, to you they have showed some truth.
I think not of them. Yet, when we can entreat an hour to serve, we would spend it in some words upon that business. Good repose the while.
Thanks, sir. The like to you.
Exit Banquo and Fleance.
Go bid thy mistress, when my drink is ready, she strike upon the bell. Get thee to bed.
Exit Seaton.
Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not, fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but the dagger of the mind, a false creation proceeding from the heat oppressed brain? I see thee yet, in form as palpable as this which now I draw. Thou marshallest the way that I was going, and such an instrument I was to use. Mine eyes are made the fools of the other senses, or else worth all the rest. I see thee still. And on thy blade and dudgeon gouts of blood, which was not so before. There's no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes. Now o'er the one half world nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtain's sleep.
He was part way up the stair.
Thou sure and firm set earth, hear not my steps, which way they walk, for fear thy very stones prate of my whereabout, and take the present horror from the time which now suits with it.
A bell rings.
I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell.
He exits. Enter Lady Macbeth.
That which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. What hath quenched them hath given me fire. Hark! Peace. It was the owl that shrieked, the fatal bellman which gives the sternest good night. He is about it. The doors are open, and the surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. I have drugged their possets.
Within.
Who's there? What ho?
Alack, I am afraid they have awaked, and 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. Hark. I laid their daggers ready, could not miss him. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I had done't.
Enter Macbeth.
My husband.
I have done the deed. Didst thou not hear a noise?
I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry.
When?
Did you not speak?
When?
Now.
As I descended.
Aye.
Hark! Who lies in the second chamber?
Donalbain.
Oh, this is a sorry sight.
Looking on his hands.
There's one did laugh in his sleep, and one cried, murder! That they did wake each other. I stood and heard them. One cried, God bless us, and Amen, the other. I could not say Amen when they did say God bless us.
Consider it not so deeply.
But wherefore could I not pronounce Amen? I had most need of blessing, and Amen stuck in my throat.
These deeds must not be thought after these ways, so it will make us mad.
Methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more, Macbeth does murder sleep. The innocent sleep. Sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, sore labor's bath, balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast.
What do you mean?
Still it cried, sleep no more. To all the house, Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more.
Go get some water and wash this filthy business from your hand. Why do you bring these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood.
I'll go no more. I am afraid to think of what I have done. Look on't again, I dare not.
Infirm of purpose. Give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. If he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt.
Oh, whence is that knocking? How is't with me when every noise appalls me? Oh, what hands are here, huh? They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red.
Re-enter Lady Macbeth.
My hands are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. A little water clears us of this deed. Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion call us and show us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts.
To know my deed, 'twere best to know myself. Wake, Duncan, with thy knocking, I would thou couldst.
Exit. Enter a porter by the door left. Here's a knocking indeed. As a man were porter of Hellgate, he should have overturned the key. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there? In the name of Beelzebub, Here's a farmer that hanged himself on the expectation of plenty. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there in the other devil's name? Faith, here's an equivocator that could swear in both the scales against either scale. Who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. Oh, come in, equivocator. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Oh, faith, here's an English tailor. Come hither. Come in, tailor. Here, you may roost your goose. Knock, knock. Never at quiet. What are you? But this place is too cold for hell. I'll devil porter if no further. I thought to have let in some of all professions that go the primrose ways of the everlasting bonfire. None, I pray you. You remember the porter. Opens the door, right. Enter Macduff and Lennox.
Was it so late, friend, ere you went to bed that you do lie so late?
Sure, we were carousing till the second cock.
Is thy master stirring?
Enter Macbeth, center.
Our knocking has awakened him. Here he comes.
Good morrow, noble sir.
Good morrow, both.
Is the king stirring, worthy Thane?
Not yet.
He did command me to call timely on him. I have almost slipped the hour.
Well, I'll bring you to him. This is the door.
I'll make so bold to call.
Exit.
Goes the king hence today?
He does. He did appoint so.
The night has been unruly. Where we lay, our chimneys were blown down, and as they say, lamentings heard in the air. Strange screams of death and prophesying with accents terrible of dire combustion and confused events now hatched in the woeful time. Some say the earth was feverish and did shake.
'Twas a rough night.
Re-enter Macduff.
Oh, horror, horror, horror. Tongue nor heart cannot conceive nor name thee.
What's the matter?
What's the matter?
Confusion now hath made his masterpiece. Most sacrilegious murder hath broke out the Lord's anointed temple and stole thence the life of the building.
What is you say? The life?
Mean you his majesty?
Approach the chamber and destroy your sight with a new Gorgon. Do not bid me speak. See, and then speak yourselves.
Exit Macbeth and Lennox.
Awake! Awake! Ring the alarm bell! Murder and treason! Banquo and Donalbain, Malcolm, awake!
Macduff comes down.
Up, and see the great doom's image. Malcolm, Banquo, as from your graves rise up and walk like sprites to countenance this horror. Ring the bell!
Enter Lady Macbeth.
What's the business that such a hideous trumpet calls to parley the sleepers of the house? Speak, speak.
Oh, gentle lady, 'tis not for you to hear what I can speak. The repetition in a woman's ear would murder as it fell. Oh, Banquo, our royal master is murdered.
Oh, alas, what, in our house?
Too cruel anywhere. Dear Duff, I prithee, contradict thyself and say it is not so.
Enter Macbeth and Lennox.
Had I but died an hour before this chance, I had lived a blessed time.
Enter Malcolm and Donalbain.
What is amiss?
You are, and do not note, the spring, the head, the fountain of your blood is stopped. The very source of it is stopped.
Your royal father is murdered.
Oh, by whom?
Those of his chamber, as it seemed, had done it. Their hands and faces were all badged with blood. So were their daggers, which unwiped we found upon their pillows.
Oh, yet I do repent me of my fury that I did kill them.
Wherefore did you do so?
Well, who can be wise, amazed, temperate and furious, loyal and neutral in a moment? No man. The expedition of my violent love outrun the pauser, reason. Here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood, and his gashed stabs looked like a breach in nature for ruin's wasteful entrance. There, the murderers steeped in the colors of their trade, their daggers unmannerly breached with gore. Who could refrain that had a heart to love, and in that heart courage to make his love known?
Help me hence, ho!
Look to the lady.
Side to Donalbain.
Why do we hold our tongues that most may claim this argument for ours?
Aside to
What should
Malcolm.
be- What should be spoken here, where our fate hidden in an auger hole may rush and seize us. Let's away. Our tears are not yet brewed.
Aside to Donalbain.
Nor our strong sorrow upon the foot of motion.
Look to the lady.
Lady Macbeth is carried out.
And when we have our naked frailties hid that suffer an exposure, let us meet and question this most bloody piece of work.
So all.
Macbeth and Lennox come down.
Let's briefly put on manly readiness and meet in a hall together.
Well
Well
content.
contented.
Exit all but Malcolm and Donalbain.
What will you do? Let's not consort with them. To show an unfelt sorrow is an office which the false man does easy. I'll to England.
To Ireland, aye. Our separated fortune shall keep us both the safer. Where we are, there's daggers in men's smiles. The near in blood, the nearer bloody.
This murderous shaft that's shot hath not yet lighted, and our safest way is to avoid the aim. Therefore, to horse, and let us not be dainty of leave-taking, but shift away.
They exit. The front curtains close, and behind them the stairway is removed. Enter Ross left and Macduff right.
How does the world, sir, now?
Why see you not?
Is it known who did this more than bloody deed?
Those that Macbeth hath slain.
Alas the day! What good could they pretend?
They were suborned. Malcolm and Donalbain, the king's two sons, are stolen away and fled, which puts upon them suspicion of the deed.
Then 'tis most like the sovereignty will fall upon Macbeth.
He is already named and gone to Scone to be invested.
Will you to Scone?
No, cousin, I'll to Fife.
Well, I will thither.
Exit. Front curtains open, a throne, center. Enter Banquo.
Thou hast it now. King, Cawdor, Glamis, all as the weird women promised. And I fear thou playedst most foully for it. Yet it was said it should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings.
Trumpet. Enter Macbeth as king, Lady Macbeth as queen. Lennox, Ross, Seaton, lords and ladies in attendance.
Here's our chief guest.
If he had been forgotten, it had been as a gap in our great feast, and all thing unbecoming.
Tonight we hold a solemn supper, sir, and I'll request your presence. Is't far you ride?
As far, my lord, as will fill up the time twixt this and supper.
You fail not our feast.
My lord, I will not.
We hear our bloody cousins are bestowed in England and in Ireland, not confessing their cruel patricide, filling their hearers with strange invention. But of that tomorrow. Hie you to horse. Adieu. Till your return at night. Goes Fleance with you?
Aye, my good lord, our time does call upon us.
I wish your horses swift and sure of foot. And so I do commend you to their backs. Farewell.
Exit Banquo.
Let every man be master of his time till 7 at night. Then God be with you.
Exit all but Macbeth and Seaton.
Sirrah, a word with you. Attend those men our pleasure.
They are, my lord, without a palace gate.
Bring them before us.
Exit Seaton.
To be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus. Our fears in Banquo stick deep, and in his royalty of nature reigns that which should be feared. He chid the sisters when first they put the name of king upon me. Then, prophet-like, they hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown and put a barren scepter in my grip, thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine proceeding. If it be so, for them the gracious Duncan have I murdered, to make them kings, the seed of Banquo kings. Who's there?
He enters Seaton with 2 murderers.
Now go to the door and stay there till we call.
Exit Seaton.
Was it not yesterday we spoke together?
Was, so please your highness.
Well then, Now have you considered of my speeches? Know that it was he in the times past which held you so under fortune, which you thought had been our innocent self.
You made it known to us.
Do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go?
We are men, my liege.
Aye, in the catalogue ye go for men. Now, if you have a station in the file, not in the worst rank of manhood, say't, and I will put that business in your bosoms, whose execution takes your enemy off, grapples you to the heart and love of us, who wear our health but sickly in his life, which in his death were perfect.
I am one, my liege, whom the vile blows and buffets of this world have so incensed that I am reckless what I do to spite the world.
And I another, so weary with disasters, tugged with fortune, that I would set my life on any chance to mend it or be rid on it.
Both of you know Banquo was your enemy.
True, my lord.
So is he mine.
We shall, my lord, perform what you command us.
Though our lives...
Your spirits shine through you. Within this hour at most, I will advise you where to plant yourselves, for it must be done tonight. Fleance, his son that keeps him company, whose absence is no less material to me than is his father's, must embrace the fate of that dark hour. Resolve yourselves apart.
We are resolved, my lord.
I'll call upon you straight. Abide within.
Exit murderers.
It is concluded. Banquo, thy soul's flight, if it find heaven, must find it out tonight.
Enter Lady Macbeth.
Not had all spent where our desire is got without content. How now, my lord, why do you keep alone as sorriest fancies your companions making?
We have scotched the snake, not killed it. Duncan is in his grave. After life's fitful fever, he sleeps well. Treason has done his worst. Nor steel, nor poison, malice domestic, foreign levy, nothing can touch him further.
Come on, gentle, my lord. Sleek o'er your rugged looks. Be bright and jovial among our guests tonight.
So shall I, love, and so I pray be you. Let your remembrance apply to Banquo. Present him eminence, both with eye and tongue.
You must leave this.
Oh. Full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife. Thou know'st that Banquo in his Fleance lives.
But in them nature's copies not in turn.
There's comfort yet. They are assailable. Then be thou jocund. Ere the bat hath flown his cloistered flight, there shall be done a deed of dreadful note.
What's to be done?
Be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck, till thou applaud the deed. Come, sealing night, scarf up the tender eye of pitiful day, and with thy bloody and invisible hand cancel and tear to pieces that great bond which keeps me pale. Light thickens, and the crow makes wing to the rooky wood. Thou marvelest at my words, but hold thee still. Things bad begun make strong themselves by ill. So prithee, go with me.
Exit. Front curtains close. Nightlight. Enter 3 murderers.
Who did bid thee join with us?
Macbeth.
Then stand with us. The west yet glimmers with some streaks of day. Now spurs the laddered travelers apace to gain the timely inn, and near approaches the subject of our wrath, of our watch.
Hark, I hear horses.
Within.
Give us a light there. Ho!
Then 'tis he.
His horses go bout.
Almost a mile, but he does usually, so all men do, from hence to the palace gate, make it their walk.
A light, a light.
Enter Banquo and Fleance with a torch.
'Tis he.
Stand to't.
It will be rain tonight.
Let it come down.
Set upon Banquo.
Oh, treachery! Fly, good Fleance, fly, 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 fly! Thou mayst revenge, oh slave!
Dies. Fleance escapes.
Who did strike out the light?
Was it not the way?
There's but one down, the sun has fled.
We have lost best half of our affair.
Well, let's away and say how much is done.
Exit carrying Banquo's body. Front curtains open, a banquet prepared. Enter Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, Ross, Lennox, lords and attendants.
May you know your own degrees. Sit down, at first and last the hearty welcome.
Thanks to your majesty.
Our hostess keeps her state, but in best time we will require her welcome.
Pronounce it for me, sir, to all our friends. For my heart speaks, they are welcome.
First murderer appears at the door.
See, they encounter thee with their heart's thanks. Both sides are even. Here I'll sit in the midst, be large in mirth. Anon we'll drink a measure the table round.
Approaching the door.
There's blood upon thy face.
'Tis Banquo's then.
'Tis better thee without than he within. Is he dispatched?
My lord, his throat is cut that I did for him.
Ah, thou art the best of the cutthroats. Yet he's good that did the like for Fleance.
Royal sir, Fleance escaped.
Then comes my fit again. I had else been perfect, whole as the marble, founded as the rock, as broad and general as the casing air. But now I am cabined, cribbed, confined, bound in to saucy doubts and fears. But Banquo's safe.
Aye, my good lord. Safe in a ditch he bides, with 20 trenched gashes on his head, the less to death to nature.
Thanks for that. Get thee gone.
Exit murderer.
My royal lord, you did not give the cheer.
Oh, sweet remembrancer. Now, good digestion, wait on appetite, and health on both.
May it please your highness, sit.
The ghost of Banquo enters and sits in Macbeth's place center.
Here had we now our country's honor roofed, were the graced person of our Banquo present.
His absence, sir, lays blame upon his promise. Please it your highness to grace us with your royal company.
The table's full.
Here's a place reserved, sir.
Where?
Here, my good lord, what is it that moves your highness?
Which of you have done this?
What, my good lord?
Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me.
Gentlemen, rise. His highness is not well.
Sit, worthy friends. My lord is often thus and hath been from his youth. Pray you, keep seat. The fit is momentary. Feed and regard him not. Are you a man?
I, and a bold one that dare look on that which might appall the devil.
Oh, proper stuff. This is the very painting of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger which you said led you to Duncan. Shame itself. Why do you make such faces? When all's done, you look but on a stool.
Prithee, see there! Behold! Look! Lo! How say you? Why, what care I? If thou canst nod, speak too. If charnel houses and our graves must send those that we bury back, our monuments shall be the maws of kites.
Ghost vanishes.
What? Quite unmanned in folly.
If I stand here, I saw him.
Fie, for shame.
Blood hath been shed ere now. The time has been that when the brains were out, the man would die and there an end. But now they rise again with 20 mortal murders on their crowns and push us from our stools.
My worthy lord, your noble friends do lack you.
I do forget. Oh, do not muse at me, my most worthy friends. Oh, I have a strange infirmity, which is nothing to those that know me. Come, love and health to all. Then I'll sit down. Give me some wine. Fill, full. I drink to the general joy of the whole table, and to our dear friend Banquo, whom we miss. Would he were here.
Our duties and the pledge.
Re-enter the ghost.
Avaunt, and quit my sight. Let the earth hide thee. Thy bones are marrowless. Thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in those eyes which thou dost glare with.
Think of this, good peers, but as a thing of custom, 'tis no other. Only it spoils the pleasure of the time.
What man dare, I dare. Approach thou like the rugged Russian bear, the armed rhinoceros, or the Hyrcan tiger. Take any shape but that, and my firm nerves shall never tremble, or be alive again, and I dare me to the desert with thy sword. If trembling I inhabit then, protest me the baby of a girl. Hence, horrible shadow, unreal mockery, hence.
Ghost vanishes.
Oh, why so, being gone, I am man again. Pray you, sit still.
You have displaced the mirth, broke the good meeting with most admired disorder.
Can such things be, and overcome us like a summer's cloud?
Things, my lord.
I pray you, speak not. He grows worse and worse. Question enrages him. At once, good night. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once.
Good night, and better health attend his majesty.
A kind good night to all.
Exit all but Macbeth and Lady Anne, who are on the forestage. The front curtains close.
It will have blood. They say blood will have blood. Stones have been known to move, and trees to speak. What is the night?
Almost at odds with morning, which is which.
How sayest thou that Macduff denies his person at our great bidding?
Did you send to him, sir?
I hear it, by the way, but I will send. There's not a one of them, but in this house I keep a servant feed. I will tomorrow to the weird sisters, more shall they speak. For now I am bent to know by the worst means, the worst. I am in blood stepped in so far that should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as go o'er.
You lack the season of all natures, sleep.
Come, we'll to sleep. We are yet but young indeed.
Exit. Front curtains open. Thunder. The three witches around a cauldron.
Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed.
Thrice and once the hedge pig whined.
Harpier cries, 'tis time, 'tis time.
Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. Toad that under cold stone days and nights has 31, sweltered venom sleeping got. Boil thou first in the charmed pot.
Doil double, toil and trouble.
Fire burn and cauldron bubble.
Enter Macbeth.
Now, you secret black and midnight hags. What is you do?
A deed without a name.
I conjure you by that which you profess, howe'er you come to know it, answer me to what I ask you.
Speak.
Demand.
We'll answer.
Say if thou'dst rather hear it from our mouths or a master's.
Call him, let me see him.
Pour in the sow's blood that hath eaten her 9 Pharaoh. Grease that sweatin' from the murderer's gibbet throw into the flame.
Come high or low.
Thyself an office deftly show.
Thunder. First apparition. An armored head.
Tell me, thou unknown power.
He knows thy thought. Hear his speech, but say thou not. Macbeth! 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 Beware, Macduff! Beware the Thane of Fife.
Whate'er thou art, for thy good caution, thanks. Now hast harped my fear aright. But one word more.
First apparition vanishes.
It will not be commanded. Here's another, more potent than the first.
Thunder. Second apparition. A bloody child.
Macbeth! Macbeth! Macbeth!
Had I 3 ears, I'd hear thee.
Be bloody, bold, and resolute. Laugh to scorn the power of man, for none of woman born shall harm Macbeth.
Second apparition vanishes.
Then live, Macduff, what need I fear of thee? But yet I'll make assurance double sure, and take a bond of fate. Thou shalt not live, that I may tell pale-hearted fear it lies, and sleep in spite of thunder.
Thunder. Third apparition, a child crowned with a tree in his hand.
What is this that rises like the issue of a king, and wears upon his baby brow the round and top of sovereignty?
Shh, listen, but speak not to it. Be lion-mettled, proud, and take no care. Macbeth shall never vanquished be until great Birnam wood to high Dunsinane hill shall come against him.
Third apparition vanishes.
That will never be. Who can impress the forest, bid the trees unfix his earthbound root? Sweet boatmans, good.
3 witches exit.
Where are they? Gone. Let this pernicious hour stand aye accursed in the calendar. Come in, without there.
Enter Lennox.
What's your grace's will?
Saw you, the weird sisters?
No, my lord.
Came they not by you?
No, indeed, my lord.
Infected be the air whereon they ride, and damned all those that trust them. I did hear the galloping of horse. Who was't came by?
'Tis 2 or 3, my lord, that bring you word Macduff is fled to England.
Fled to England.
Aye, my good lord.
Time thou anticipatest my dread exploits. The flighty purpose never is o'ertook unless the deed go with it. The castle of Macduff I will surprise, seize upon Fife, give to the edge of the sword his wife, his babes, and all unfortunate souls that trace him in his line. Where are these gentlemen? Come, bring me where they are.
Exit. Enter Malcolm and Macduff.
Let us seek out some desolate shade, and there weep our sad bosoms empty.
Let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men bestride our downfall in birthdom. Each new morn, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike heaven on the face, that it resounds as if it felt with Scotland and yelled out like syllable of dolour.
What I believe, I awail. What no believe, and what I can redress, I will. This tyrant, whose sole name blisters our tongues, was once thought honest. You have loved him well. He has not touched you yet.
See who comes here?
Ah, my countryman, and yet I know him not.
My ever gentle cousin, welcome hither.
Ah, I know him now. Good God, betimes remove the means that makes us strangers.
Sir, amen.
Stands Scotland where it did?
Alas, poor country, almost afraid to know itself. It cannot be called our mother, but our grave.
How does my wife?
Why, well.
And all my children?
Well, too.
The tyrant has not battered at their peace?
No, they were well at peace when I did leave them.
Be not a niggard of your speech. How goest?
Now is the time of help. Your eye in Scotland would create soldiers, make our women fight to doff their dire distresses.
Be their comfort. We are coming thither. Gracious England hath lent us good Seward and 10,000 men.
Would I could answer this comfort with the like, but I have no words that would be howled out in the desert air where hearing should not latch them.
What concerns they? The general cause?
No, mine, that's honest, but in it shares some woe, though the main part pertains to you alone.
If it be mine, keep it not from me. Quickly, let me have it.
Your castle is surprised, your wife and babes savagely slaughtered.
Oh, merciful heaven, what man! Ne'er pull your hat upon your brows. Give sorrow words. The grief that does not speak whispers the o'er-fraught heart and bids it break.
My children too?
Wife, children, servants, all that could be found.
And I must be from thence. My wife killed too?
I have said.
Be comforted. Let's make us medicines of our great revenge to cure this deadly grief.
He has no children, all my pretty ones. Did you say all? Oh, hellkite, all? What, all my pretty chickens and their dam at one fell swoop?
Dispute it like a man.
I shall do so, but I must also feel it as a man. I cannot but remember such things were that were most precious to me. Did heaven look on and would not take their part?
Be this the whetstone of your sword. Let grief convert to anger. Blunt not the heart, enrage it.
Oh, I could play the woman with mine eyes and braggart with my tongue, but gentle heavens, front to front, bring thou this fiend of Scotland and myself within my sword's length, set him. If he scape, heaven forgive him too.
This tune goes manly. Come, go we to the king, our power is ready. Receive what cheer you may. The night is long that never finds the day.
Yes. Nightlight, enter a doctor of physic and a gentlewoman.
I have 2 nights watched with you, but can perceive no truth in your report. When was it she last walked?
Since his majesty went into the field, I have seen her rise from her bed, throw her nightgown upon her, unlock her closet, take forth paper, fold it, write upon it, read it, afterwards seal it, and again return to bed, yet all of this whilst in a most fast sleep.
In this slumbery agitation, besides her walking and other actual performances, what at any time have you heard her say?
That, sir, which I will not report after her.
You may to me, and 'tis most meet you should.
Neither to you nor anyone, having no witness to confirm my speech.
Enter Lady Macbeth, center with a taper.
Lo you, here she comes. This is her very guise, and upon my life, fast asleep, observe her. Stand close.
How came she by that light?
I had stood by her. She has light by her continually. 'Tis her command.
You see, her eyes are open.
Aye, but their sense is shut.
What is it she does now? Look how she rubs her hands.
Oh, it is an unaccustomed action with her to seem thus washing her hands. I have known her continue in this a quarter of an hour.
Yet there's a spot.
Hark, she speaks. I will set down what comes from her to satisfy my remembrance the more strongly.
Out! Damned spot! Out, I say! 1, 2. Why then 'tis times to do it, Alice Marquis. Fie, my lord, fie, a soldier and afeard? What need we fear who knows it when none can call our power to account? Yet who would have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him?
Do you mark that?
The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? What? Will these hands ne'er be clean? No more of that, my lord, no more of that. You mar all this with starting.
Go to. You have known what you should not.
She has spoke what she should not. I am sure of that. Heaven knows what she knows.
Here's the smell of the blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Oh.
What a sigh is there? The heart is sorely charged.
I would not have such a heart in my bosom for the dignity of the whole body.
Well.
Pray God it be, sir.
This disease is beyond my practice. Yet I have known those who have walked in their sleep who have died holily in their beds.
Wash your hands. Put on your nightgown. Look not so pale. I tell you yet again, Banquo's buried. He cannot come out on his grave.
Even so?
To bed. There's knocking at the gate. Come. Give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed.
Exits.
Will she go now to bed?
Directly.
Foul whisperings are abroad. Unnatural deeds do breed unnatural troubles. Infected minds to their deaf pillows will discharge their secrets. More needs she the divine than the physician. God, God, forgive us all. Look after her. Remove from her the means of all annoyance, and still keep eyes upon her. So good night. My mind she has mated, and amazed my sight. I think, but dare not speak.
Good night, good doctor.
Exit. Drums and colors. Enter Malcolm, Macduff, Menteith, Angus, Lennox, Ross, and soldiers.
Cousins, I hope the days are near at hand that Chambers will be safe.
We doubted nothing.
What wood is this before us?
The wood of Burnham.
Let every soldier hew him down a bough and bear it before him. Thereby shall we shadow the numbers of our host and make discovery a report of us.
Shall be done.
We learn no other but the confident tyrant keeps still in Dunsinane, and will endure our setting down before it.
'Tis his main hope. For where there's advantage to be given, both more and less have given him the revolt, and none serve him but with constrained things whose hearts are absent too.
Let us our just censures attend the true event, and put we on industrious soldiership. Advance the war.
They exit. Enter Macbeth.
Bring me no more reports. Let them fly all. Till Burnham would remove to Dunsinane, I cannot taint with fear. What's the boy, Malcolm? Was he not born of woman? The spirits that know all mortal consequences have pronounced me thus. Fear not, Macbeth. No man that's born of woman shall e'er have power upon thee. Seaton! I am sick at heart when I behold Seaton, I say! This push will cheer me ever, or deceit me now. I have lived long enough. My way of life has fallen into the sere, the yellow leaf. And that which should accompany old age is honor, love, obedience, troops of friends I must not look to have, but in their stead curses, not loud but deep, mouth honor, breath, which the poor heart would fain deny and dare not. Seaton!
Enter Seaton.
What is your grace's pleasure?
What news more?
All is confirmed, Lord, which was reported. There is 10,000 soldiers, sir.
What soldiers?
The English force, so please you.
I'll fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked. Give me my armor.
'Tis not needed yet.
I'll put it on. Send out more horses. Scur the country round. Hang those that talk of fear. Give me mine armor.
Enter the doctor.
How does your patient, doctor?
Not so sick, my lord, and she is troubled with thick-coming fancies that keep her from her rest.
Cure her of that. Canst thou not minister to a mind diseased? Pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow. Raise out the written troubles of the brain, and with some sweet, oblivious antidote, cleanse the stuffed bosom of that perilous stuff which weighs upon the heart.
Therein the patient must minister to himself.
Throw physic to the dogs, I'll none of it. Come, put mine armor on. Give me my staff. Seaton, send out.
Enter the doctor. Soldiers appear.
Hang out our banners on the outward walls. The cry is still, they come. Our castle's strength will laugh a siege to scorn. Here let them lie till famine and the ague eat them up. Were they not forced with those that should be ours, we might have met them dareful, beard to beard, and beat them backward home.
A cry of women within.
What is that noise?
It is a cry of women, my good Lord.
Exits.
I have almost forgot the taste of fears. The time has been my senses would have cooled to hear a night shriek. I have supped full with horrors.
Re-enter Seaton.
Wherefore was that cry?
The queen, my lord, is dead.
She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Enter a messenger.
Thou comest to use thy tongue, thy story quickly.
Gracious my lord, I should report that which I say I saw, but know not how to do it.
Well, say, sir.
As I did stand my watch upon the hill, I looked toward Burnham, and anon methought the wood began to move.
Liar and slave!
Let me endure your wrath, if it be not so. Within this 3 mile may you see it coming. I say, a moving grove.
If thou speakst false upon the next tree, shalt thou hang alive till famine cling thee. If thy speech be sooth, I care not if thou dost for me as much.
Take the messenger.
Ah, I begin to doubt the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth. Ring the alarm bell! Blow, wind! Come, rack! At least we'll die with harness on our back.
Alarm bell. Enter Macduff.
Turn, hellhound, turn.
Of all men else I have avoided thee. But get thee back. My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already.
I have no words. My voice is in my sword.
Thou losest labor. As easy mayst thou the entrenchant air with thy keen sword impress as make me bleed. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born.
Despair thy charm, and let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped.
Accursed be that tongue that tells me so. And be these juggling fiends no more believed that palter with us in a double sense. Now keep the word of promise to our ear and break it to our hope. I'll not fight with thee.
Then yield thee, coward, and live to be the show and gaze of the time. We'll have thee, as our rarer monsters are, painted upon a pole and underwrit, here may you see the tyrant.
I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet, and to be baited with the rabble's curse. Though Burnham would be come to Dunsinane, and thou opposed, being of no woman born, yet I will try the last. Before my body I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damned be him that first cries, hold enough!
They fight, and figures sweep across the battling stage. Macbeth falls. Enter Malcolm, Seward, and Ross.
I would the friends we miss were safe arrived.
Some must go off, and yet by these I see so great a day as this is cheaply bought.
Macduff is missing, and your noble son.
Your son, my lord, has paid a soldier's debt. He only lived but till he was a man, the which no sooner had his prowess confirmed, in the unshrinking station where he fought, by like a man he died.
Then he is dead?
Aye, and brought off the field. Your cause of sorrow must not be measured by his worth, for then it hath no end.
Had he his hurts before?
Aye, on the front.
Why then, God's soldier be he. Had I as many sons as I have hairs, I would not wish them to a fairer death. And so his knell is knolled.
He's worth more sorrow, and that I'll spend for him.
He's worth no more. They say he parted well and paid his score. And so God be with him. Here comes newer comfort. Flourish, enter with drums and colors, Malcolm, Ross, the other Thane soldiers, Malcolm at center.
All hail, King, for so thou art. The time is free. Hail, King of Scotland. Hail, King of Scotland.
King of Scott, flourish. Front curtains close. The end. Yay! Good job, guys. Good job.
Now I want to do this play for real.
That was
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's out? The witch is out.
Yeah.
me too.
And now we
So yeah, do I make our attendees panelists so they can just talk to us now? And
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
We
Let's
do
do
that?
that.
And is that the end of the YouTube? Or are they staying on for the Q&A as well?
we didn't talk about that. Do you want me to end?
Yeah,
I
let's
think
keep it on.
Yeah, because if you end it, I think you'll end this. You have to end the Zoom to end. The
Okay, so we can.
Yeah, and I think students will watch it in the next couple of days as well, the ones who couldn't make it tonight. So I'd love for them to see the Q&A as well.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay, so I'm letting everybody that was watching us.
Yay.
There we go.
Oh, people are leaving.
Wow.
No, I'm
Yay.
letting everybody in, but thank you guys.
Friday night, I get it.
Yeah.
Big plans.
Friday night and so many places to go.
Claire, hi Daniela, hi Emily, hi Jay, hey Luca. Thanks for staying the whole time.
Yes.
Hi, good to see
Hi.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so glad you could see this. And I think the first thing we wanted to start off with was we made a very conscious choice to make Lady Macbeth also counter with the third witch, so be the same role. And I'd wanted to think what you thought of that choice and if it changed the text at all for you. You can write in the message or speak.
That's such a good question as well. But while we're waiting for
We
answers,
talked about it as well to help spur the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to jump off.
Because I find it really interesting, that theory with Lady Macbeth being the third witch, but it's almost more like, now my question is it just the actor playing that so you make some sort of connection, or is the idea that Lady Macbeth is the third witch?
I think it's the latter.
Because I find that the latter being a little bit more tricky, because Lady Macbeth loses her marbles, so to speak, and commits suicide. So therefore, the witch would have done that as well. I kind of see it as the witch possessing Lady Macbeth in a way, maybe.
Or just taking her form, sort of, as a way to spur him to respond. I mean, he responds so quickly to what they say in the beginning of the play that, like, if that as a sort of shapeshifter, if that's something the witch does, as opposed to it actually being Lady Macbeth, seems to hold more weight.
well, we've had from
Well, we're making that connection. They're two separate parts in the script. We're
Right, but
trying to make this connection.
there's some suggestion, I think, because of the way the third witch speaks and the way Lady Macbeth speaks, that they have very similar ways of speaking. So there's that potential, I suppose, that they were intended to be the same person. And I think it's an interesting, I kind of tried to grapple with it because it changes everything. Especially when she reads the letter from Macbeth, because if she is indeed the third witch, then none of that is really news to her.
Well, that's a good point, because Emily from our chat room said it was interesting and it gave Lady Macbeth's more motive and objective, but it got a bit confusing in the end when she died of her own guilt, but she was still a witch with magical connections.
Yes.
So it's
I'm with you,
interesting.
Emily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very well expressed.
Yeah, and Lucas says, I thought it was cool because it's an interesting theory that she could be the third witch in that she knows what will happen, which is really cool as well. And, we made that choice, didn't we, as a what if. right? As a potential kind of what if that was something that we could do.
And I suppose you could, the way the third witch reacts in the scenes with the other witches, it is possible that she herself is not really possessed of any powers, but that she participates with these women who are, and she surrounds herself with these women who are. And so she maybe doesn't have the foresight or the power that the witches have, but at the same time, she's kind of wrapped up into their world, which does kind of help you to address that issue, I think, that Emily raised, which is if she's one of the witches, why would she, have the fate that she has? So it certainly makes it interesting at playing both the characters. It gives you some really different choices that you can make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Lady Macbeth is the first witch to introduce the idea that Macbeth will be king. So I think it also furthers that question of how in charge of our fate are we? How destined are we for the life we're going to lead versus how much free will do we have? And if she is Lady Macbeth, the third witch, that changes the whole game in terms of Macbeth sort of going through his fate.
And then it's also a be careful what you wish for thing too, where she's all about killing Duncan, but she's not about killing Banquo. And it goes too far. Like it's not clean. It's messy. It's bloody. He can't handle it. She has to touch the stuff. It's messy. It's messier than a plan.
Yeah.
Well, and I like this connection, but when you think of Banquo, Lady Macbeth or the third witch really wasn't involved with the killing of Banquo.
Yeah, I took that on Macbeth took that on his own volition and said, don't worry, when you find out, you'll know what I've done. All good, don't worry about it.
Because right before
out of the bottle.
Yeah, and right before he's just met with the murderers, and she comes in and finds him, and she says, why are you, here we are, we got what we wanted, and yet you're not content.
Yeah. And
I think for her, she is content. She's the queen, he's the king. That was the goal. There was no discussion of anything else, which is interesting to me too, because it suggests that she didn't really, she doesn't believe that there's anything beyond that. There's no need to retain that title. It's just that he will become the king. So she definitely had one purpose, and she, for her, she could be done. Like, great, we're the king and queen now. This is good. This is what we wanted to accomplish.
It's really fascinating because Macbeth, at the very beginning, when he gets the prophecy by the weird sisters, he says, wow, I'm going to be king. Well, I already got Cawdor without trying, so if I don't try, I guess this will come true. And then Lady Macbeth convinces him to murder Duncan right there. He says, no way. She convinces him, yes way. They go for it. Macbeth is supposed to do all the dirty work. He messes up and brings the daggers with him. They're supposed to be there. And then Lady Macbeth has to then go and do all the gory stuff. And then, so they're both like so bloody. And then there's this weird disconnect where they kind of fall apart as a couple somewhere, when he gets obsessed with having to kill Banquo and Banquo's line, there's a disconnect between that couple. And I don't understand why that happens when they're so cohesive a unit earlier in the play when murder must be done. Richard, can you speak to that anyway? Is there anything?
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting point of what is it that starts to fracture the relationship. They ultimately get what they want quite early on, and so the play's done. And yet it shifts into Macbeth's hands of, okay, I can do this. Which is really interesting, is because that Lady Macbeth says to him 3 or 4 times, it questions his manhood. Are you a man? Are you a man? Like, what is the role of a man? And is not then Macbeth thinking, okay, she got us the kingship, but now I'll kill Banquo. I'll do what a man should do. And by responding as a man, it all comes.
Well, but he doesn't. He just hires the murderers to kill him.
Well, is it possibly the guilt just starts playing inward on them and starts eating away at them individually?
Very much.
Yeah, in different ways almost. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's,
Well, and he
it's
keeps having to
deeply
tie up loose
psychological.
ends because he's so paranoid, right? He keeps
Yeah.
having to, well, this person might know, or this. Richard and I were talking that, you know, because Macbeth says at the very end, he's like, I will revenge this, but I have to feel it like a man first. He has this sort of antithesis of what a man is, which is that he should be vulnerable and feel pain. And I wonder if, you know, even from the beginning, Macbeth kind of senses something is off. And in that, and maybe even Banquo as well, like maybe there's flavors of these guys that Macbeth sort of turns in his head and goes like, oh, they're fucking on to me. I gotta tie up these loose ends, as is exacerbated by the guilt and the paranoia.
Well, it's like the scene with Banquo and Macbeth where he's like, Banquo's like, oh, hey, I had a dream about those sisters. And
Yeah.
Macbeth is like, I don't even think about
then?
sisters.
No, I never think of them. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
He thinks the Macbethy doth protest too much.
Exactly.
Emily has a question from the chat room. Were there any other interesting versions, interpretations of Macbeth that you've seen or been in? It was a great question.
I've seen 2 terrible productions of it that were interesting in concept, but just didn't work in some weird reason. Both are at Stratford Festival in Ontario.
Rod Beatty?
Rod Beatty as Macbeth.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic
Strange choice.
Macbeth. And Rod Beatty has like this radio announcer's voice, much like this. And he's older and kind of a little bit shorter and a little bit rotund and a little bit too old to play the role. And it was like and it was a post-apocalyptic,
outrageous.
like,
They
guns
took
and swords, Mad Max costumes.
They took out every reference to Scotland in that production.
What?
Really?
It was an
was just
unbelievable
Beth?
nightmare.
Who directed that one? Do you know, Joe?
Well, it was Rod and Martha Henry, and
Right.
probably Diana LeBlanc is what I'm gonna say.
Right. Yeah.
I'm almost positive.
And then the other one I saw was with Comfior, and the one they did a few years ago where they set it in Rwanda, which I thought was really cool. That was really neat. And Yana McIntosh was Lady Macbeth, but they had no chemistry, the two of them. Like, I just didn't believe that they were a loving couple at all. And that kind of, it's almost like if you don't have a good Romeo and Juliet, the whole thing falls apart. Yeah. It was kind of similar, but the concept was so cool that it was in, you know, genocidal 90s Rwanda during the genocide, and it was fascinating.
Also, didn't they add a whole thing of him at battle in the very beginning, which kind of goes against the whole Greek nature of what's in the play, which is that we don't see him.
Right.
He's just talked about as this, in the same way as Othello is, like, he's talked of as this mighty warrior, and they had him like gunning people down with a fucking Uzi.
Yeah.
Which also is not what happened in Rwanda at all.
No.
He's dressed as like a UN peacekeeper.
Yeah.
I saw a production not that long ago, which was fairly traditional in the sense that it was, you know, it was set in Scotland and what have you. But what they did was they really played up the horror element to it. So everything about the production was almost like they were going for like almost like jump scares. Like it was very much this sense of it. It was really kind of scary and moody and dark, like throughout the entire play. And at times it really worked. And at other times, I think it kind of obscured the emotional journey of the characters, because that is very deep and that is very interesting and it's very psychological in nature. But it had some cool elements to it. Like at first, it really drew you in to begin with. So I thought that was kind of an interesting take on it, to do it very, very much like it was this kind of horror in a way, because it is a bit of a slasher.
I saw Alan Cummings do it by himself.
Oh, wow.
What?
Ah.
New York, and it was unbelievable.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's awesome.
So good luck next week, Richard, with Henry V. But
Yeah.
Yeah. No pressure.
No, no worries. The question from the chat room. Is it hard, is from Luca, is it hard for you to find originality in characters that have been played and analyzed by so many people? It's a great question.
Really good question.
Megan, you take that because you did so much research on the witches that were just like.
I would say I feel like there's more freedom in things that is like overdone, because so many people have played it all of these different ways. There's all these expectations. And so you kind of just start with like a ground of like, all right, well, you know what it is. So I'm going to do whatever I can bring to it. And let me just start finding like all the nuances. And you set aside in your mind pretty much like what you've seen before. And you try to like unleash yourself to do what it is that you feel, knowing that you can't go wrong. I mean, as you heard, there's so many versions of Macbeth out there. There's so many theories of Macbeth out there. It just creates this scape, at least for me, that makes it kind of easy to be like, oh well, I could do this in any way. It could be a comedy of witches. It wouldn't matter. It's all based on my expression.
I'm going to jump in here too, is not just Macbeth, but generally for Shakespeare, is when you look at like modern scripts that have a lot of stage direction, what props people are holding, it doesn't really give you a lot to, kind of work and interpret. But Shakespeare's plays are pretty much the language. Sometimes there's a prop mentioned in a line, but not even described. The scenes are pretty vague. And what it does is it allows people to see a whole bunch of different things in it. And like we're talking now, is each one of us has like different ideas to bring to it. And it just, the Shakespeare plays, the way they are, is it allows people to interpret and reinterpret and bring it current, and play it in Rwanda, and do different things with it, and that just alone just gives it life.
It comes down to, further along with that, it comes down to your individuality as an actor. If you want to become an actor or a performer, you're constantly auditioning against other people for the same role. And so there is a danger, and you can very easily slip into doing the role like everybody else, whether it's in a Shakespeare play or it's like that audition. But at the end of the day, the thing that you have above every other performer out there is yourself. The one thing you can do better than anybody else out there is you. So as long as you are authentically yourself and you're bringing that to the role, it's going to be different. It's going to be your own, and nobody else can do that. And it's way more important to do that as an actor than to try and put on what you think it should be. You just got to be authentically yourself, because that's what you're selling and that's what's interesting about you. And you can nail that every time because there's only one you.
Nicely said. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Any more questions from the chat room? Any thoughts or things you've always wanted to know? Now is your time to ask those questions. Oh yes, from Daniela. In the beginning of the play, they introduced Macbeth as the mightiest warrior after he won the Battle of Cawdor, and then at the end it seemed he was quickly defeated by Macduff. Do you believe that he was emotionally defeated by finding out the truth about Macduff, or that his ambition was greater than his physical ability?
Oh,
good
what a question.
Excellent question.
Great question.
I have a Macbeth theory, if it's okay, Kristian.
Yeah, go for it. Go.
I kind of, as the play goes on, right, the witches and the magical aspect of the things that support Macbeth kind of start to dwindle, and once the witches, he sees the apparition, they're gone. And Macbeth, though he is filled with ambition, he's also seems to be filled with as if he's grasping on the idea that he is this named being of magical, these magical things, said he was the one, but they're not talking to him anymore. And so it's very much like he can't hear from God, really. And he's getting more and more and more wound up. And my theory is that ultimately that's his demise, is that he's so focused on what he was told and what he was supposed to do, and that he's the gifted one, that he can't see like what he was doing prior to meeting the witches in the first place.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like Shakespearean karma as well, where at the beginning of the play he's a good guy. He's funny, he's charming, he's well liked. All the soldiers love him. He's a great warrior. He does good battle, but he gets completely wrapped up in this supernatural craziness, and he starts to really buy into it. And almost like a sports team that is like undefeated, and they just kind of go into the final game, of the playoffs, like, yeah, we've got this with the top team, and they just get slaughtered. And the same thing kind of happens. And that's what's so interesting about how deeply psychological Shakespeare can be. And this is like 500 years ago. It's amazing. But the other thing that I found really interesting with the witches was he's filled with this false comfort of magic inside him, which fails him. But one reason why I think it fails him is he constantly breaks the rules with the witches. He's constantly breaking the rules. He's demanding, he wants to talk to the apparitions, or like, don't speak to the apparitions. It's almost like he walks into a psychic and he's like, okay, I gotta know some stuff. And they're like, fine, there's some house rules. You want to know things from my masters, they know everything, but you do not talk to the masters. You just sit there and listen. Don't say anything. And what does he do? Oh my God, I gotta ask you, no, come back. What are you doing? And he starts talking to them, and he's constantly breaking the rules with the witches. And so the witches just like it. I feel like he just cancels out all his luck and all his magic because he actually doesn't follow the rules the whole time.
He doesn't trust the fate either.
Right.
Like, he doesn't trust it. So they actually make it happen. And the Banquo bit is just ridiculous. It's just jealousy, because it's like, you don't have a problem with Banquo, and Banquo doesn't want to be king, but his kids are going to be king, so the kids have to go. Like, it's like that ambition is just crazy.
And the crazy thing about Banquo's kids becoming king is, why should Macbeth care?
Yeah.
Him and
Why?
Lady Macbeth don't have kids. They can't have kids, or they did, but the kids died. And I get the impression, I was talking about this with Richard when we were rehearsing, I kind of feel like if that ship has sailed for Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, then it doesn't work. But if there's some hope somewhere between that couple that they could still have a child, then that's why he needs to react and murder all of Banquo's line.
Yeah.
But the fact that he cannot have a child shouldn't disturb him. He knows he won't. He doesn't have, someone to follow him. So he should welcome his best friend's family into the fold.
Well, and then on top of that,
But they're not able to have a child, are they? She has that line on Sex Me Now.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like,
But I feel like they had one and the child died. Richard, what's the background of that?
Yeah, no, I think there is a line that she says that
I have given suck.
yeah,
And
that
she'd pull the baby from her
breast,
chest and
You would
Says, "I
bash
would have
his brains.
bashed its brains out."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy
Yeah.
imagery.
But also, I think one of the things too is because Banquo was there when the sisters are there in the first place, it's somebody who knows. That it's somebody who knows the premonition other than the Macbeths. And in a way, I have to go because I know where this came from. So it's like, it's happening too fast. Like already, like Banquo's onto it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, what do you mean you're not thinking of the sisters? And like, wait a minute, you've got everything, and you've got everything real fast. And I think it's like, you got to get rid of the witnesses.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
And
he
I think
also,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, he also subverts this idea that he keeps challenging that Banquo's sons will be kings. Like everything else he finds comfort in, right? Like, I'm not going to be killed by anyone of woman born, until the woods come to Dunsinane. But yet this one he tries to challenge, so he's very selective in what he listens to.
Mhm.
And I think that's problematic as well.
And I think too, like what I find is interesting when you're saying the contrast between who he is at the beginning of the play and who he is at the end. We don't know a lot about that battle, but I think what we do know about Macbeth is that he's fairly pure in his intention. He doesn't go into battle to become Thane of Cawdor. He goes into battle to fight for his country or to fight for his people. And as he progresses through the play, his intentions, the reason, his motivation to do things is no longer pure. It's very selfish in many ways as well. So I think that's an interesting sort of choice on the part of the playwright, really, to say, look, this is what happens when you behave in a way that is not maybe, I don't know if it's morally correct, or it does. I think it does say something about your motivations and what the result might be if your motivations are not pure.
Well, I just did a quick poll with our group. Most important character in the play is, and the options were Lady M, Banquo, Macduff, and Fleance. And overwhelmingly, people thought that Lady Macbeth is the most important character in the play.
I would argue that the weird sisters should be on there. The witches are the important people in the play.
Yeah, they are pretty influential.
Something on what Luanne was just saying is there's also an element of who is Macbeth taking orders from. Say for example, when he's taking orders from Cawdor, he's noble. But then when he goes away from taking those orders from Cawdor and starts following Lady M, hey, kill Cawdor, then his mind, he doesn't hold it together.
Well, Emily has a question on that, and this is really cool. Adding on to the poll result, and I think it just goes to what you said, Burke, why do you think Macbeth was so inclined to listen to Lady Macbeth's wants? Is it driven by love, ambition, pride, shame, or just a follower's mindset?
It's a great question.
Yeah. So is it just that? What is it?
I mean,
love each other, right? I mean, we get in the first letter, the what does he call her? My greatest love, or
yeah, there's actually a lot of textual references to suggest that they have a deep love for each other.
Yeah.
And it seems like a very romantic love. Because characters often say, oh, my partner, my wife, or my lord, but they call them, they refer to each other in such almost it's just like romantic sort of names for each other. Like he calls her my dearest partner of greatness.
Yeah.
She refers to him as, oh, my lord, and he says my chuck and my darling. Like there's quite a lot of love, I think, between them.
I wonder,
which is interesting.
Sorry. I wonder how long ago then it was that their child died. If it is very recent and he's filled with this fire of anger and mourning and grief, and he goes into battle and just slices that guy from the nave to the chops. I mean, he just unseams a man. He rips the guy in half. He's filled with fury and anger and this fire, and wants nothing but to please his wife, who's in mourning, I'm sure. And when she brings up, I know I've given suck, and that whole like making fun of his manhood, like it all ties into this weird toxic masculinity that Shakespeare's talking about, but also really ties into the grief that maybe these two lovers have experienced. And so part of it is his ambition, but part of it is him feeling maybe like he's lacking as a man in that he hasn't been able to get his wife pregnant enough, or that he hasn't provided a safe enough home that their child has lived. And, he just wants to give her the world. He loves her.
And he has to have boys. He can't have girls.
Right.
Well,
And it's a
Jacob,
weird
that's it.
kind of relationship, isn't it? Because they do speak to each other in this loving way, but at the same time, I mean, she's quite cruel to him. I mean,
Spiteful.
she's spiteful. She says, you know, you're not a man, you're like a child. Only a child would be afraid of something like that.
She knows his buttons.
She does. She knows how to push
He wears
his
the
buttons.
pants, I feel.
Yes.
To use
Yeah.
the
When I
dumb analogy, but
when I played Mackers, me and my lady, we each had we found a picture on the internet, and we had this little kid picture with us that was just our little secret between the two of us, and that had happened very, very recently, so that we felt that between the two of us, those events of the death of this child had been so recent, so painful, so important to our relationship, and so had really fused us that way, that that was the connection that we had. And yeah, I mean, it was just our way of working that the director never knew, but it was just something that as actors that we felt that we really need to have that connection. When we started every night, we'd have a moment just backstage, and we'd look at the picture of our child and have a hug and start the play. It was very powerful, very, very powerful. But yeah, there's theories that they never had a child, and that it's a lie, and that it's just a complete manipulation from Lady M, and that he's a fool. And it's what we've been talking about all night. It's so,
Because if he feels guilty somehow for that child's death, in the first scene where she convinces him to, because she does have to convince him to kill Duncan.
yeah,
If he's feeling guilty for some reason about that child dying, he's going to want to do anything he can to
make it right.
to make it right. But then something shifts in him, because I don't think he has a follower's mindset after that.
No.
Then he acts on his own. He's very much independent. He's independent of her. Suddenly they're disconnected in their, their desire for what they're searching for.
And in turn, if she feels guilty, this is a lot of her kind of displaced rage on him to sort of emasculate him and try to put him down in turn to bring him up too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. That it became, Paul, you can't even give me a healthy child.
Yeah.
What kind of a man? You can't even do that. And so it really had a very incredible power that we brought onto the stage every night as this couple that were just still mourning and still going through that.
I have friends here.
Ah, yeah.
Well,
There you go.
Dogs of Shakespeare.
You name it McDuff.
Don't we have? Where's Graham Malkin? Maddie has that.
This is joy. It's not crab.
He was this part tonight. He wasn't in it tonight.
Great. So, any more questions, guys? Any more?
Is there anything you missed from the full play that you guys didn't see tonight? Because this was an edited 1 hour thing, and it's very common for all the students out there that when you do a Shakespeare play, you're not usually doing the full play. A lot of people don't do the full 3.5 hour Hamlet or 4 hour Hamlet, depending on how slow people talk in the play. Like it's very, people edit the hell out of it. I was in a production that was, I think, an hour and a half or 2 hours long, a professional production. And that we cut the damn thing in half. So like that happens all the time with Shakespeare. There's a lot of superfluous stuff. Were there any scenes that you guys missed? I mean, I know that there's only a couple of you out there, but give it some thought, even those checking this out later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, something that we've talked about in our class discussions are the Hecate scenes, and those are often cut out of professional productions. But the Hecate kind of, one of her famous lines, right? "Security is mortal's chiefest enemy," kind of reminded me, Kristian, of what you were saying about Shakespearean karma, right? In this case, obviously security meaning overconfidence, this idea that Macbeth's belief that he is untouchable will ultimately kind of result in his downfall. So I think that's something we do talk about in class is the Hecate scenes. I think there was another comment in the chat. Let's see. Oh yeah. What scenes did you guys miss from this cut? Did you catch any?
I really missed that opening monologue because usually the first scene is witches, and then you get the soldier with the monologue about what Macbeth did, which is like one of the best speeches in.
And that's part of the battle scene. We're now in the battle.
That's right. That's right. And then the witches, like the beginning of our version is 2 witches scenes put together. Because they talk about when are we going to meet when the battle's done, we'll meet again, and they're still meeting and the battle's done. But I missed that battle, all that battle stuff, and that speech about unseaming someone from the nave to the chops. That was an image when I was in grade 10 that just like has stuck with me forever, that speech. I was like, this is so badass.
I like that too.
This is the best. So I missed that.
Yeah, I missed the Lady Macbeth's full monologue.
Yeah.
Because it does, you only just get a glimmer of what might be motivating her and what she's going through. And so in this version, you kind of have to just take the leap with the knowledge that assumption that you read it or you've heard it or something. But, so much of what we've been talking about tonight really does come or is illuminated in that one soliloquy. And so I mean, as an actor, you always want to have those great pieces to do and to chew on and all that. But even beyond that, I definitely missed that because I felt that it was character, not so much plot necessarily, but just that filling out her character a little bit more, and also giving her as an actor, Lady Macbeth has very, very significant transitions that happen very, very quickly. And without that full soliloquy, it's even faster to kind of get to that next stage of decision making without really having that time where she kind of has that back and forth with herself.
Yeah, and there's one character I didn't mention in the poll, which I think is the most important character in the entire play, and that's the porter.
Yeah,
so
you're going to say that.
That is a great scene.
He's skewing the results.
Yeah. I made the poll, so yeah. Yeah.
That's why the host is not allowed to vote.
Oh, I could have voted? Damn it, I didn't vote. I would have voted for Macbeth, damn it.
No, panelists can't vote either.
Okay.
We were barred from voting.
It's crazy.
But I think the panelists would agree with the outcome.
I think Fleance is the best.
Yeah, Fleance.
Hey. Oh yeah, and like Fleance, he doesn't come back in our version of the play, but he does in the full version. And
yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's an important thing that they cut, I think.
Yeah.
Because there is a sense of hope when the child, the children are our future. Like, he is the future, and he escapes and he restores.
But there's no hope there. I will argue the opposite, and that what is in the future is death and murder, just like Macbeth, but from Fleance potentially. So you've got Malcolm,
actually,
his whole line. You've got
doesn't.
Donalbain and his whole line that needs to be wiped out before Fleance gets in there. So there's going to be some shit going down in the future.
How does the prophecy come true?
Yeah, that's the sequel that Shakespeare, we haven't found it yet.
Path to the prophet.
It's not extant.
Yeah.
I think it's just called Fleance.
Yeah.
An exclamation mark.
Like Fleabag.
Yeah.
Fleance on Hulu.
Fleance. Musical.
Fly, Fleance, fly.
And it is a musical. It's an Elizabethan musical.
We can write it.
Very rare.
That's right.
Waller Bridge should do Fleance.
Yes.
It's a Fleabag. I love it. I think that's awesome. That's got some legs, I think.
All right, we've come
Okay,
up.
we'll work on that. For,
Rosencrantz
Yeah.
and Guildenstern are dead.
Yeah.
we only need another month or two of
Yeah.
social distancing to get that one sorted.
Yeah. The Burnham Wood Ballet. I'm
Yeah.
seeing.
I like that.
Trees in front of you.
That's a contemporary dance.
Precisely. Yeah.
Dancing hippos.
Yeah.
The Dunson dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
And on that note.
All right. And, yeah. So, Megan, any more questions or any more things you want to talk about with your kids, or they've asked all their questions, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think if anyone has any other questions, would love to answer them. And otherwise, I thought we had a really good conversation, and I know it's been a long week. This is like our last official week of school, and then we have finals next week, so it's been a long week for everyone.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you guys.
Yeah.
Finishing school. That's great.
Yeah. Yay. And thank you for all your great questions. Really insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow,
proud.
I wish
of
I was
all
that
of
smart in grade 10.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what was I doing in grade 10?
Wordplay.
you.
Yeah. And thank you so much for coming. I know, it's a Friday night, but we loved doing it, and hopefully you enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely.
Now you can get back to Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sell your something, I don't know, turnips, right?
Yes.
Sell turnips in that game.
All right. Well, have a great, whatever this means, long weekend.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching, and thank you, Megan, for letting us do this. It was
Oh,
it was so great, and everyone's in the chat room saying thank you. So thank you guys.
thank
Danielle.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
guys.
Sonia, for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you guys.
Yes, and thank you to Miss
Thank you for
Egan.
Much
Yeah,
love.
sorry, Miss Egan. I should
Daniela,
call you
Luca.
Miss Egan.
It's fine. Thank you so much, everyone.
Well, thank you. We'll have the link to
Yeah.
the video will be up pretty soon as it sort of goes through its final stages with YouTube, and we'll send that out. So that's great.
Thanks, Jay. Have a good night.
Good night, Jay.
Oh, thank you.
All right, bye, guys. Have a good weekend. Have a good long weekend of doing
Yeah.
this.
Long weekend, everybody.
Okay, have a great weekend, everybody.
Cheers.
Thanks, Claire.
Oh, thank you, Claire.
That's awesome.
Good night, guys.
Love you too, Claire.
Good night.
Love you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, guys.